Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Our first story is titled, Girlfriend's Constant Jealousy is Draining Our Relationship. I guess I need to get this off my chest and maybe get some advice. Fair warning, this is going to be a long one. I'm Andrew, 28 years old, and I had been dating Lana for just over 2 years when the end came. When we first got together, everything was great. Lana was funny, smart, and we had so much in common. We'd spend hours talking about our favorite books, arguing about movies, and planning our next hiking trip. I really thought I'd found the one, but about 6 months into our relationship, things started to change. It was subtle at first, a few extra questions about my day, wanting to know who I was texting, checking my social media a bit too often. But I didn't think too much of it at the time. I figured she was just interested in my life. Then came the first real incident. I was out with my best friend, Logan, having a few beers after work. We do this pretty regularly, maybe once or twice a month. It was nothing out of the ordinary, but when I got home, Lana was waiting up for me, arms crossed, a scowl on her face. "Where have you been?" she demanded as soon as I walked through the door. I was taken aback. "Out with Logan, like I told you this morning." "Really? Because I called the bar you said you'd be at, and they said you weren't there." I blinked, confused. "We went to O'Malley's instead. The game was on there, and it wasn't at the original bar, it turns out." "So you lied to me," Lana cut me off. "What? No, we just changed plans last minute. I didn't think it was a big deal." "Not a big deal? How am I supposed to trust you if you can't even tell me where you're really going?" We argued for over an hour that night. I tried to explain that it wasn't a lie, just a change of plans, but Lana wasn't having it. She kept insisting that I was hiding something, that maybe I wasn't really with Logan at all. Eventually, I called Logan and put him on speakerphone to confirm our night out. Only then did Lana finally calm down, but the damage was done. I went to bed that night feeling drained and confused. What had just happened? I wish I could say that was an isolated incident, but it was just the beginning. Over the next few months, Lana's jealousy and suspicion grew exponentially. She started questioning every aspect of my life outside of our relationship. If I mentioned a female coworker in passing, Lana would grill me about her. "Is she pretty? Do you talk to her a lot? Why haven't you mentioned her before?" When I'd go out with friends, she'd text me constantly, asking where I was, who I was with, when I'd be home. If I didn't respond quickly enough, I'd come home to a barrage of accusations. Even my social media became a source of conflict. Lana would scrutinize every comment, demanding to know who these people were and why they were interacting with my post. One day, about 8 months into a relationship, I came home from work to find Lana sitting on the couch, my laptop open in front of her. "What are you doing?" I asked, a sinking feeling in my stomach. Lana looked up at me, her eyes narrowed. "Who's Ria?" I froze. Ria was a colleague I'd been working on a project with. We'd exchanged a few work-related emails, nothing more. "She's just a coworker." "Why are you going through my emails?" "Just a coworker? Then why are you emailing her at 9 p.m.? I sighed, running a hand through my hair. "Because we had a deadline, Lana. We were finishing up a report. You can't just go through my private emails like this." "Private? What do you have to hide?" Lana's voice was rising now. "If there's nothing going on, why does it matter if I look?" "Because it's an invasion of privacy. There's confidential work stuff in there. And more importantly, you should trust me enough to not feel the need to snoop through my things." The argument that followed was one of our worst. Lana accused me of having an affair, of lying to her, of not caring about her feelings. I tried to explain her jealousy was unfounded, that she was overreacting, but it only made things worse. In the end, I slept on the couch that night, my head spinning. I loved Lana, but this constant suspicion was becoming too much to bear. I didn't know how much more I could take. The next morning, over a tense breakfast, I suggested that maybe we should see a couples counselor. To my surprise, Lana agreed. I think she realized things had gotten out of hand too. We started seeing a recommended therapist the following week. In our first session, we both laid out our sides of the story. I talked about feeling suffocated by Lana's constant suspicion, while Lana expressed her fears of being cheated on and abandoned. Our therapist listened patiently, then said, "It sounds like there are some deep-seated trust issues here. Lana, have you experienced infidelity in the past relationships?" It sounds like there are some deep-seated trust issues here. Lana, have you experienced infidelity in past relationships?" Lana nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "My last boyfriend cheated on me with my best friend. I found out after they'd been sneaking around for months. I felt so stupid, so betrayed." My heart sank. I knew about Lana's ex, but I hadn't realized how deeply that betrayal had affected her. The therapist turned to me. "And Andrew, how does Lana's behavior make you feel?" I took a deep breath. Honestly, Trapped, like I'm constantly walking on eggshells, afraid that anything I say or do will be misinterpreted. I love Lana, but I feel like I can't have a life outside of our relationship without it causing a fight. She nodded. These are all valid feelings on both sides. Lana, your past experiences have clearly left some emotional scars. It's understandable that you're afraid of being hurt again, but Andrew isn't your ex, and it's not fair to punish him for someone else's actions. She turned back to me. Andrew, it's important that you understand where Lana's fears are coming from. However, you also have a right to your own life and privacy. The key here is going to be rebuilding trust and establishing healthy boundaries. Over the next few sessions, she worked with us on communication exercises and trust building activities. She encouraged Lana to work on her self esteem and to find activities outside of our relationship to focus on. For me, she suggested being more proactive and sharing details about my day with Lana, not because I had to, but to help her ease her anxieties. For a while, things seemed to improve. Lana started taking a photography class, which gave her something to focus on besides our relationship. I made an effort to text her during the day, just little updates about what I was doing. The constant questioning decreased, and we were arguing less. But old habits die hard, and it wasn't long before Lana's jealousy started creeping back in. It was more subtle this time, but still there. She'd make little comments, fishing for information. So, did you talk to Ria today? Or, I noticed Lisa liked your Instagram post. You two seem pretty friendly. I tried to be patient, to remember what Dr. Chen had said about Lena's past hurts, but it was exhausting, constantly having to reassure her, always feeling like I was under suspicion. Things came to a head about 4 months into our counseling. I had a work conference in Chicago, a 3-day event that I'd been preparing for weeks. Lana had known about it for months, but as the date approached, she became increasingly anxious. The night before I was set to leave, Lana was pacing our apartment, peppering me with questions. Who else is going? Are there going to be after-hours events? Will there be drinking? I tried to keep my cool. Lana, we've been over this. It's a professional conference. Yes, there will be networking events in the evenings, and yes, there might be some drinks, but it's not a party. I'm going there to work and learn. Lana's eyes narrowed. So you'll be out late, drinking with your coworkers, including Ria? I sighed, feeling my patience wearing thin. Yes, Ria will be there, along with about 200 other people from our company and thousands from others. It's not like we're going out partying together. But you'll be sharing a hotel, right? How do I know you won't end up in a room? That was it. I'd reached my breaking point. Enough, I shouted, surprising even myself with the volume. Just enough, Lana. I can't do this anymore. I've never given you any reason not to trust me. I bent over backwards trying to ease your fears, but nothing is ever enough. I feel like I can't breathe in this relationship anymore. Lana's face crumpled. Tears started to fall. I'm just scared, Andrew. I don't want to lose you. But don't you see, this is pushing me away. Your constant suspicion, the accusations, it's killing any love I have for you. I don't know how much longer I can live like this. We talked, argued for hours that night. In the end, I still went to the conference, but things felt different. A line had been crossed, and I wasn't sure we could come back from it. When I returned from Chicago, Lana was on her best behavior. She didn't ask about the conference beyond a cursory. How did it go? But I can feel the tension simmering beneath the surface. She was holding back, but the jealousy and suspicion were still there. We went back to our therapist, and I opened up about how close I was to my breaking point. She suggested that Lana might benefit from some individual therapy to work on her trust issues, in addition to our couple sessions. Lana reluctantly agreed. For the next 2 months, we both threw ourselves into therapy. Lana started seeing a therapist specializing in trust issues and past trauma. I had a few individual sessions with our couples therapist to work on setting boundaries and communicating my needs more effectively. But despite all our efforts, things weren't getting better. If anything, the strain on our relationship was worse than ever. Lana's jealousy had become less overt, but it was still there, manifesting in passive-aggressive comments and thinly veiled accusations. I felt like I was walking on eggshells all the time, second-guessing every interaction I had with anyone outside our relationship. Was that friendly chat with the barista going to spark another argument? Would liking a female friend's Facebook post lead to hours of questioning? The final straw came about 6 months after the Chicago incident. I was at a work happy hour, celebrating a big project we just completed. I told Lana about it in advance, and she seemed okay with it. I'd put my phone on silent and hadn't checked it for a while as I was chatting with my coworkers. When I finally saw the messages, my heart sank. I knew what I'd be coming home to. Sure enough, when I walked through the door around 9 p.m., Lana was waiting, her face a mask of anger and hurt. "Where have you been?" she demanded. "I've been texting you for hours." I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the fight I knew was coming. "I was at the work event, Lana. Like I told you this morning, my phone was on silent. For 3 hours, you couldn't take 2 seconds to text me back? I was socializing with my coworkers, being present in the moment instead of glued to my phone." I couldn't keep the irritation out of my voice. Lana's eyes flashed. "Oh, I'm sure you were being very present. Who were you talking to? Was Ria there?" And just like that, I felt something inside me snap. All the frustration, all the resentment that had been building up over the past 2 years came pouring out. "Yeah, Riga was there, and Logan, and Mike, and Lisa, and about 20 other people from our office. Because contrary to what you seem to believe, I am allowed to have coworkers and friends. I'm allowed to have a life outside of this relationship." Lana recoiled as if I slapped her. "I knew it," she hissed. "I knew you were hiding something. You're probably sleeping with her, aren't you?" I stared at her, feeling a strange sense of calm wash over me. At that moment, I realized that nothing was going to ever change. No amount of therapy, no amount of reassurance was going to fix this. "Lana," I said quietly, "I think we need to break up." The words hung in the air between us. Lana's anger seemed to deflate, replaced by shock and then fear. "What? No, Andrew, please. I'm sorry, I'll do better, I promise. We can work on this." I shook my head sadly. "We've been working on this for 2 years, Lana. It's not getting better. If anything, it's getting worse. I can't live like this anymore. I'm constantly stressed, constantly on edge, waiting for the next accusation. This isn't healthy for either of us." Tears were streaming down Lana's face now. "But I love you. I can't lose you." "I love you too," I said, and I meant it. Despite everything, I did still love her. But love isn't enough. We need trust and respect, and the ability to have our own lives outside of this relationship, and we don't have that. What followed was one of the most difficult conversations of my life. We talked for hours, crying, arguing, reminiscing about the good times, but in the end, we both knew it was over. The next few weeks were a blur of logistics, finding a new apartment, dividing up our shared possessions, telling our friends and families. It was a painful, but underneath the next few weeks were a blur of logistics, finding a new apartment, dividing up our shared possessions, telling our friends and families. It was painful, but underneath the sadness, I felt a sense of relief I hadn't experienced in years. The first few months were tough. I missed her, questioned my decision, wondered if I'd made a huge mistake. But as time passed, I started to rediscover parts of myself that I'd lost during our relationship. I'd signed up for a mixed soccer league, something I'd avoided before because Lana didn't like the idea of me playing sports with women. I rekindled my passion for photography, joining a local club that went on weekend excursions to take landscapes. I even planned a solo backpacking trip through Europe, something I'd always dreamt of but never thought I'd be allowed to do while with Lana. Each new experience, each new friendship I made, felt like a step further away from the suffocating relationship I'd been in and closer to the person I wanted to be. I was rediscovering my independence, my passions, and my sense of self. One evening, about 8 months after the breakup, I was at a gallery showing for my photography club. As I chatted with fellow club members and sipped wine, I caught sight of my reflection in one of the gallery's mirrors. I almost didn't recognize myself. The man staring back at me looked relaxed, confident, and genuinely happy. In that moment, I realized something profound. The constant jealousy in my relationship with Lana hadn't been just draining. It had been slowly erasing who I was as a person. Breaking free from that wasn't just about ending a bad relationship. It was about reclaiming myself. I reconnected with old friends I drifted away from. I threw myself into new hobbies without worrying about how much time I was spending away from home. I even started casually dating again, enjoying the feeling of getting to know someone new without the weight of suspicion and jealousy hanging over every interaction. Last week, I ran into Lana at a coffee shop. It was awkward at first, but we ended up talking for a while. She looked good, more relaxed than I'd ever seen her in years. She told me she was still in therapy, working on her trust issues. She'd even started a new relationship and was determined not to repeat the mistakes of our past. As we said goodbye, Lana thanked me. "Breaking up was hard," she said, "but it was the wake-up call I needed. I'm sorry for what I put you through, Andrew. I hope you're happy now." And the thing is, I am happy. Happier than I've been in a long time. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying jealousy is always a deal breaker in a relationship. A little jealousy is normal, even healthy sometimes. But when it becomes all-consuming, when it erodes trust and suffocates individuality, that's when you need to take a hard look at whether the relationship is truly working. In the end, walking away from Lana was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but it was also one of the best decisions I've ever made. I learned a lot about myself, about what I need in a relationship, and about the importance of maintaining my own identity even when I'm part of a couple. If you're reading this and seeing echoes of your own relationship, my advice would be this. Communicate openly with your partner. Seek help if you need it, but also know your own worth. You deserve to be trusted. You deserve to have your own life. And sometimes, as painful as it might be, walking away is the kindest thing you can do for both of you. Here are my thoughts about the story. I feel like I'm a little hypersensitive to the stuff happening in these stories. Like, bro, I was pretty much physically feeling the pressure slowly build up. The way Lana was questioning everything and finding guilt where there was none, the way she asked after every woman in Andrew's life, the snooping through private accounts and material, I felt all of it and was dying bit by bit for every paranoid idea she jumped to. I would not survive with a girlfriend like Lana. The stress would get me far sooner than anything else. Imagine coming home to that kind of confrontation every single day. Imagine having to check your phone every 5 minutes because if you take longer than that to reply, your girlfriend will start an argument louder than a heavy metal concert. Credit to Andrew where credit is due, because I am almost certain that most of us would have folded after the first week max. Like, dude, Rhea isn't even part of this relationship or affair. She's literally just a coworker of Andrew's, yet her name has been mentioned so many times that I literally had to pause. Think about what her role in this entire fiasco was. Nothing. Her role was nothing, because nothing happened. I really do try to feel for Lana. I mean, from her own admission, it looks like she's got some influences from the past, and some problem inside that invokes some of this paranoia. But this is another level of off the rails. The little comment she made about the possibility of Andrew ending up in the same hotel room as Rhea was honestly such a shock. There were apparently 200 people there, yet that's what she was worried about? Jesus, I'm glad she's getting some separate therapy, for the sake of not only her relationships, but also Lana herself. Those must be some gargantuan problems to trigger fears like this. Now that Andrew's free, he can finally grow. Finally.
And now, guys, we will move on to the second story of the video. Please like the video if you have enjoyed it so far. The story starts like this.
Husband's jealousy over my success is destroying our marriage. When I married Tim 5 years ago, we were equals. Two young professionals starting out in our careers, full of dreams and ambitions. We supported each other, celebrated each other's small victories, and comforted each other through the setbacks. But somewhere along the way, things changed. As my career took off, Tim stagnated, and what was once a partnership of mutual support turned into a breeding ground for resentment and jealousy. My name is Aaron, and this is the story of how my husband's jealousy over my success has destroyed our marriage. It all started about 2 years ago. I had been working as a marketing manager at a mid-sized tech company, putting in long hours and constantly pushing myself to learn and grow. My hard work paid off when I was offered a promotion to director of marketing. It was a huge step up, more responsibility, a significant pay raise, and a chance to really make my mark in the industry. The night I got the news, I couldn't wait to tell Tim. I practically bounced through the door of our apartment, my face hurting from smiling so much. Tim, where are you? I have amazing news, I called out as I entered. I found him in the living room, slouched on the couch with his laptop balanced on his knees. He looked up at me, his expression neutral. What's up? I plopped down next to him, barely able to contain my excitement. I got the promotion. I'm going to be the new director of marketing. For a moment, Tim just stared at me. Then slowly, a smile appeared across his face. But even then, I noticed it didn't quite reach his eyes. Wow, that's great. Aaron, congratulations. I frowned slightly, my enthusiasm dampening a bit. You don't sound very excited. Tim shook his head, closing his laptop and setting it aside. No, I am, really. It's a big change, you know? Are you sure you're ready for all that responsibility? His words stung, but I brushed them off. Tim was probably just surprised, I told myself. He'd come around once the news sank in. I know it's a big step, I said, trying to keep my voice upbeat, but I've been working towards this for years. The company believes in me, and I know I can do it. Tim nodded, but I could see the tension in his jaw. Right, of course. Well, we should celebrate. How about I order some takeout? I agreed, and we spent the rest of the evening eating Chinese food and watching a movie. But the excitement But the excitement I had felt earlier had faded, replaced by a nagging sense of unease. Why wasn't Tim happy for me? Over the next few weeks, I settled into my new role. Tim's behavior became increasingly odd. He'd ask probing questions about my day, but his tone was more interrogative than interested. He'd make little comments about how late I was working, or how I was always too tired to do things with him. One night, about a month into my new position, things came to a head. I had just finished a particularly grueling day, having presented our new marketing strategy to the board of directors. It had gone well, but I was exhausted. All I wanted was to curl up on the couch with a glass of wine and decompress. As soon as I walked in the door, Tim was there, his arms crossed over his chest. "Nice of you to finally show up," he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. I sighed, hanging up my coat. "Tim, please, not tonight. It was a really long day." "It's always a long day, isn't it?" he shot back. "You're never home anymore, and when you are, you're too tired to do anything." I felt my temper flaring. "That's not fair. I'm working hard to build my career. I thought you'd be supportive." Tim laughed, but there was no humor in it. Supportive? How am I supposed to be supportive when you're leaving me in the dust? Do you have any idea how it feels to watch your wife succeed while you're stuck in the same dead-end job? His words hit me like a slap in the face. I knew Tim had been struggling at work. He'd been passed over for promotion twice in the past year. But I had no idea he resented me for my success. "Tim," I said, trying to keep my voice calm, "my success doesn't diminish you in any way. We're a team, remember? Your wins are my wins, and vice versa." He shook his head, his eyes hard. "Easy for you to say. You're not the one who has to listen to your coworkers talk about how impressive your spouse is. Do you know how emasculating that is?" I felt a surge of anger at his words. "Emasculating? Are you serious right now? My success shouldn't threaten your masculinity. Tim, that's not how this works." "Oh, so now you're going to tell me how I should feel," he snapped. "You don't get it, Aaron. You never had to feel like you're not good enough." I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. This wasn't productive. We needed to talk about this rationally. "Look, I can see you're upset. Why don't we sit down and really talk about this? I want to understand where you're coming from." Tim scoffed, turning away from me. "There's nothing to talk about. You're too busy being a big shot to care about how I feel anyway." With that, he stormed off to the bedroom, slamming the door behind him. I was left standing in the living room, my mind reeling. How had things gotten so bad without me noticing? That night was the first time Tim slept on the couch. Over the next few months, the tension between us grew. Tim's comments became more frequent and more biting. He'd make snide remarks about my fancy job, or how I was too important to do things around the house anymore. Every time I had to work late or attend a business dinner, it led to an argument. I tried to involve Tim in my work life, inviting him to company events and sharing my successes with him, but each attempt seemed to backfire. He'd either refuse to go, claiming he didn't want to be my arm candy, or he'd come and spend the entire time sulking in a corner. The particularly painful incident occurred at my company's annual gala. I had been asked to give a speech about our latest marketing campaign. We had been hugely successful. Tim had initially refused to attend, but I had begged him to come, hoping that seeing me in my element might help him understand my passion for my work. As I stood at the podium delivering my speech, I scanned the crowd for Tim's face. I found him at our table, his expression dark, his eyes fixed on his phone. He didn't look up once during my entire speech. When I returned at the table after a round of congratulations from my colleagues, Tim barely acknowledged me. "Great speech," he muttered, not looking up from his phone. I felt my heart sink. "Did you even listen to it?" I asked, unable to keep the hurt from my voice. He shrugged. "What's there to listen to? It's all the same, isn't it? Aaron's great, Aaron's brilliant, Aaron's changing the face of marketing." I glanced around, acutely aware of the curious looks we were getting from nearby tables. "Can we not do this here?" I hissed. "This is important to me, Tim. I wanted you here to share in my success, not to tear me down." Tim finally looked up at me, his eyes cold. "Well, I'm sorry if I'm not jumping for joy at being constantly reminded of how much better you are than me." I felt tears pricking in my eyes. "That's not what this is all about. Why can't you just be happy for me?" "Because every time you succeed, it's like a reminder of my own failures," Tim snapped, his voice rising. Do you have any idea what it's like to be the husband of Aaron, the marketing genius? To have everyone asking me what it's like to be married to such a successful woman? It's humiliating. His outburst drew stares from the surrounding tables. I felt my cheeks burning with embarrassment and anger. Without a word, I stood up and walked away, ignoring Tim's calls behind me. I spent the rest of the night making small talk with colleagues, fighting back tears and making excuses for my husband's absence. When we got home that night, the silence between us was deafening. As we got ready for bed, not speaking, I realized that this couldn't go on. Something had to change. The next morning, I decided to broach the subject of couples therapy. I found Tim in the kitchen, nursing a cup of coffee and looking as tired as I felt. "Tim," I said softly, sitting down across from him. "We need to talk about last night." He didn't look up from his mug. "What's there to talk about? I think I made myself pretty clear." I took a deep breath. "I think we need help, Tim. This isn't healthy for either of us. I want to suggest couples therapy." At that, Tim's head snapped up. "Therapy? Are you serious? We don't need some stranger poking around in our business." "But we do need help," I insisted. "We can't go on like this. The way you've been acting, the things you've been saying, it's destroying our marriage. Tim, don't you see that?" He scoffed, pushing away from the table. "The only thing destroying our marriage is your obsession with your career. If you cared about us half as much as you cared about your job, we wouldn't be having these problems." I felt a surge of frustration. "That's not fair, and you know it. I love you, Tim. I love us, but I also love my work. Why should I have to choose?" "Because your work is taking over everything," Tim shouted, slamming his mug down on the counter. "It's all you talk about, all you think about. Where do I fit in, Aaron? Where do we fit in?" I stood up, my own anger rising to match his. "You fit in right beside me, Tim. At least you would if you stopped being so damn insecure and actually supported me, instead of tearing me down all the time." Tim laughed bitterly. "Support you? While you leave me in the dust? While you make me feel like a failure every single day? No thanks." "I have never, ever made you feel like a failure," I said, my voice shaking with emotion. "Those are your own insecurities talking. I've always believed in you. Tim, I've always supported you. Why can't you do the same for me?" He shook his head, turning away from me. "You just don't get it, Aaron, and you never will." With that, he walked out of the kitchen, leaving me alone with my cold coffee and a growing sense of despair. Over the next few weeks, I tried everything I could think of to salvage our relationship. I suggested counseling again, but Tim refused. I tried to cut back on my work hours, but it only led to me feeling resentful and Tim accusing me of slumming it with him. I even considered turning down a big project at work, hoping it might ease some of the tension between us. But one night, as I sat at my desk, staring at the email that would decline the project, I had an epiphany. Why was I the one making all the sacrifices? Why was I considering giving up opportunities that I had worked so hard for? Tim wasn't willing to work on his issues or support my success. Why should I dim my own light to make him feel better? With a new profound sense of clarity, I accepted the project. When I told Tim about it that night, his reaction was predictably negative. "Of course you took it," he said, his voice bitter. "Why wouldn't you? It's not like you have anything else to worry about, like, oh, I don't know, your marriage?" I looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time, I didn't feel hurt or angry at his words. I just felt tired. "Tim," I said softly, "when did you stop being my partner and start being my competitor?" He blinked, taken aback by my calm demeanor. "What are you talking about? I'm not competing with you." "Aren't you?" I asked. "Because every success I have seems to be a failure for you. Every step forward I take in my career feels like it pushes you 2 steps back. That's not how a partnership is supposed to work." Tim's face hardened. "Well, excuse me for not being thrilled about being left behind. Some partnership." I shook my head, feeling a deep sadness settle over me. "I never left you behind, Tim. I've been trying to bring you with me this whole time. You're the one who keeps refusing to come along." We stared at each other for a long moment, the weight of unspoken words hanging between us. Finally, I took a deep breath and said the words I'd been afraid to even think about for months. "I think we need to separate." His eyes widened in shock. "What? Aaron, no. We can work this out." But I shook my head, feeling strangely calm. "Can we?" "We've been trying for months, Tim. You refuse to go to counseling. You refuse to work on your own insecurities. Instead, you've been tearing me down, making me feel guilty for my own success. I can't live like this anymore." Tim's shock quickly turned to anger. "That's it? You're just going to throw away our marriage for your career?" "No," I said firmly. "I'm choosing my happiness. I'm choosing a life where I don't have to apologize for my success or dim my light to make someone else feel better. I love you, Tim. I always will, but I can't set myself on fire to keep you warm anymore." The next few weeks were a blur of lawyers, paperwork, and tearful conversations with friends and family. Tim alternated between trying to win me back and lashing out in anger. But through it all, I stood firm in my decision. It wasn't easy. There were nights when I lay awake, questioning if I had made the right choice. There were moments when I missed Tim so much it physically hurt. But every time I walked into my office, every time I successfully completed a project or received praise from my colleagues, I knew I had made the right decision. 3 months after I moved out, I ran into Tim at a coffee shop. He looked different, tired, but somehow lighter. We decided to sit down and talk. "I've been seeing a therapist," he said, stirring his coffee absently, "trying to work through some of my issues." I felt a pang in my chest. "That's great, Tim. I'm really happy for you." He nodded, meeting my eyes. "I owe you an apology, Aaron. I was so caught up in my own insecurities that I couldn't see how much I was hurting you. I'm sorry." Tears pricked at my eyes. "Thank you," I said softly. "That means a lot to me." We talked for a while longer about our lives, our work, our ongoing divorce proceedings. It was bittersweet. But as I left the coffee shop, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in a long time. A year has passed since that day in the coffee shop. The divorce is finalized, and I have moved into a new apartment. My career continues to flourish, and I've even been approached about a potential CEO position at a startup. Sometimes I still feel a twinge of sadness when I think about what Tim and I could have been. But more often, I feel grateful. Grateful for the lessons I learned. Grateful for the strength I found in myself. And grateful for the realization that my success is not something to be ashamed of or apologized for. Tim and I still talk occasionally. He's doing better. He switched careers and seems happier. We're not friends exactly, but we're not enemies either. We're two people who loved each other, hurt each other, and ultimately had to let each other go to find our own paths. As I sit in my office, looking out over the city skyline, I think about the journey that brought me here. It wasn't the path I expected to take, but it's the path that led me to become the strong, successful woman I am today. And for that, I wouldn't change a thing. I've learned the importance of setting boundaries, both in my personal and professional life. I've discovered that it's okay to prioritize my own goals and ambitions, and that doing so doesn't make me selfish or uncaring. I've learned the value of surrounding myself with people who support and uplift me, rather than those who try to dim my light out of their own insecurities. I've learned that success doesn't have to come at the cost of love or happiness. That the right people lift you up, not try to bring you down. That it's okay to prioritize your dreams and ambitions, and that doing so doesn't make you selfish or unlovable. And in the end, tying it all together, I found that true partnership means celebrating each other's successes, not competing or feeling diminished by them. I learned that my worth isn't determined by someone else's insecurities. My dreams, my ambitions, my happiness, it isn't selfish, it's necessary. Here are my thoughts about the story. Ouch for all parties involved. I won't even lie to you. I felt for Tim at first. I still kind of do, actually. Feeling inadequate and compared to someone else's success is never a pleasant feeling. Everyone's gone through it at least once in their lives, or will at some point in the future. It's still valid of him to feel the way he did, but being married means that you're going to be tied to your partner, no matter what you do. It means your name will be brought up along with your wife's failures and successes alike. That constant comparison can weigh on anyone. I have empathy for Tim for that much. The problem came when he decided to take those feelings out on Aaron instead of redirecting them to a healthier coping mechanism. I mean, is it any wonder that he lacks some of those skills? His reaction to Aaron bringing up therapy, a reasonable offer, considering their situation at the time, said enough about his opinion on the matter. He kept bashing her for her career, continued to bring up points of contention, but always responded negatively to her attempting to work off of what he was saying. And guys, this might be a controversial take, but your married partner is not your therapist. They are not trained, paid, or obligated to withstand your abuse and set themselves on fire just so you can feel warm again. It's not right. And if you really are pulling something like this, well, I think the only thing that should come next on that order of events are the divorce papers. Erin, taking Tim's verbal and emotional abuse, tried to fix things. She tried to compensate, to adjust to what he was saying, and it didn't work. What she did was already a commendable effort, and the declaration of divorce that followed was well warranted. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments if you want. While this video was still running, everyone get up for a standing ovation to Erin for having the guts to choose herself. Like, girl, yes, just yes. Get that career. Get that path to promotion. Get that life you deserve. It's not easy to walk away from marriage, especially when there's still love there. But sometimes loving yourself has to come first. And I'm so here for that message. This is actually such a weirdly good story to show people just why divorce exists. Toxicity needs to be cut from your life before you can heal the burn left behind. And I mean, Erin still got a good bit of healing left in her to do. Or at least, that's what I can imagine. Divorce is never a purely happy event. And in a scenario like this, it's bound to leave some unseen scars. But scars can be beautiful too. And that's exactly what everyone should be wishing for in Erin's name.
Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you again tomorrow.